And waiting for the broadcast. You are live is what it says on the middle of the screen. So we
It
are live.
does.
This is the Technorama pre-show. Thanks everybody for joining us. Apologies for a little bit of the voice is worn out. Just got back from the Star Trek cruise last night, and between karaoke, lots of talking, and yelling like a Klingon to the Stovall gods, whatever, numerous times.
Right.
It's a bit worn out, and it'll take a day or two to come back. But appreciate you joining us for Technorama. Anyway, we will talk a little bit about that Star Trek cruise here, and even more on our other podcast, recording in a couple of days. The topic is Trek. Where's my ding? There, you can
Dang.
find that over at
You,
thetopicistrek.com.
I'm starting to wonder if you're going to make it through the entire show.
Oh, it'll be fine.
Yeah, at the end of the show, you'll be
You've heard me at my worst.
I've seen you at your worst.
It comes back. It comes back. Hey, John Miller Jr., good to see you.
Hey, it was nice. I was in Atlanta this weekend seeing my son, his 20th birthday.
Yep.
And I wasn't sure exactly. I'm still trying to get my bearings in some of the places in Atlanta. And of course, we walked up on Peachtree Street, and there was the church that we line up at.
Oh, yeah. Craig
Yeah.
knows the place.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, there it is. And I knew it was in that area, but I didn't know exactly where. And so I saw the church, and there's the parking deck where everybody lines up and all that stuff. It was really cool. So,
And there was a real church service. And real homeless people sleeping on the steps, not our homeless people.
That's right. That's right. Remember, what was that guy's name? He was hungover or something.
Two of
Dressed as
them.
Bender.
The Bender and the Roberto were kind of like trash.
Yeah. And
God
they were
bless
laying
them.
around. They were laying around on
came
the
through.
steps.
It's like when showtime came, they put on the rest of their costumes and got up and marched with us. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Roberto costume was awesome.
Yeah.
That turned out really well.
That's a tough one because he's on the cartoon, he's got such a skinny neck.
So did that guy. I'm just kidding.
How do you get your head in there?
Right.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
We
are signed up for the next year's parade. I think that happened since our last show. No, we did a show or two since then because sign up was on the 15th. And I haven't heard whether it was completely full or not, but we have upped our quota or our request of wristbands. So we're up to 30 people. And I'll be really happy because we started with 4.
Yeah. Oh, we had
Was that
14 last time, 16?
It was I think we asked for 20 or 25 and we filled darn near all of them. We only had like 3 bands left at the end, so it was a good group. Looking forward to seeing them, and even did some recruiting while I was on the cruise. Somebody was dressed up as Leela for the costume ball. I'm like, wrong cruise.
Really? Wrong cruise.
But hey, do you go to Dragon Con?
Yeah. Did they? Did they say they did?
No, they didn't, but they said they were very much interested, and if we had place for them, they would try and make room. Also had a guy who was singing karaoke. We did a duet on the last night. It was the closer, and we did Under Pressure by David Bowie and Freddie Mercury. I did the Freddie Mercury, and he did the Dave Bowie, and he lives in Atlanta. And I said, you got to come out, man. You gotta come cheer us on or something. So hopefully we'll see him too. Kevin Spooner, shout out to him. I don't think he's watching. I didn't even talk much about Technorama on this cruise.
Did you have cards to give out? Some Technorama?
I gave out one business card, and it was supposed to be to Sirach Lofton to see if he wanted to reach out to us and be on our podcast. But I gave it away beforehand to the girl named Leela. I said, you gotta stay in touch with us. We'll add you to the Facebook group. So, well, I think it was more valuable. We can always reach out to Sirach. I can't always find that girl dressed up as Leela.
True.
So that was a bold choice. Anyway, we have some chats coming in, and I put up the pre-show banner. So,
oh look, Ralph is awake after his trip too.
Ralph is conscious.
Yep. Hey, Ralph.
Ralph, we last saw Ralph in the Orlando airport heading for his house.
I missed it and seeing all you guys.
Yep. Hopefully you'll be able to join us next year.
Yeah, Kim and I were looking for that email, because we were on the last cruise, previous cruise, and then
yeah, everybody kept saying last year. It's like, no, just substitute year for cruise, and you'll be fine.
Cruise. Yeah, and so you're supposed to have an email with a token so you can go sign up, and I'm not seeing. We didn't see it. Either it got very deleted or something. I don't know. I'm pretty hesitant about deleting emails. Immediately, especially if I throw them in the trash. I'm very hesitant just deleting something right away because there have been times ago. Oh yeah, wait, I have to go
Well,
find
Google
something.
hangs on to the trash stuff for like 30 days, doesn't it?
It should, yes.
Yeah, I've gone into the trash long afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, I rarely ever have deleted and then cleared out the trash. So,
Well, maybe
um,
there's our Patreon topic. How do you
here you go.
deal with deleting and archiving?
Yeah. So, yeah, my last email is from January, into January. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's like 30 days, something like
So
that.
should be there. Should
Hmm.
be there.
Oh, well, we'll see.
Ralph says, no promise of consciousness.
Right.
I don't know about you, Ralph, but I'm still feeling the ship moving in this room.
That's right.
It's that cruise phenomenon where we just lost Craig. I don't know where he went. But it takes a couple of days to get your sea legs, and then when you come back, it takes a couple of days to get your sea legs off. But
Right.
yeah, I'm hanging onto this table for dear life, going, "Whoa, what was that?" It
Oh,
was
your sea legs.
yeah, my sea legs haven't worn off yet.
Right. Now,
Some of it
so,
just feels like general jet lag. I'm tired and my head wants to fall off my shoulders.
well, generally,
All
those
day. He says, "All day I've been swaying."
was it, I'm sorry, I dropped off there for a second. Was the ship pretty stable? Because usually those
Yeah, it
cruises
was
are.
pretty stable right up till, I think it was our last day on Friday. We just were kinda coming back, and it got a little windier, and the waves got a little bit bigger,
Mhm.
and, it was really funny because there was the Picard panel because 'cause we'd watched the premiere the night before,
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it had, Evan Evagora, um, Issa Briones, and John Delancey on stage, and Jordan
Hmm.
Hoffman was moderating the panel, and you kept hearing these kaboom through the ship, and it would shake you too in your seat, and poor Issa is, like, terrified. She's white knuckling her chair on stage,
Oh, no.
and she's got these big eyes, and John Delancey goes, "Oh, don't worry. We just hit an iceberg
Yeah.
in the Caribbean." And then about 5 minutes later, she starts relaxing, all of a sudden you hear this kaboom again.
Yeah.
"Oh, it's just another iceberg."
Oh,
Hey,
man.
Mike Robeson, how you doing? Good to see you. We've got Myron on here. Man, he hasn't been on it, or at least hasn't spoke up in ages. So good to see everybody. You know what, Craig? I say we get started with this crazy
Yeah.
circus we
By
call
the
tech.
way, I just wanna say I do
Yeah.
like, I do your voice does remind me of, my chain smoking aunt, so.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Welcome to Technorama.
Homer.
I'm gonna bring your audio down just a little bit.
Alright.
Okay. Or I need to bring mine up, but okay. Give me another level check, Craig.
Level check. Hello.
Yep,
Check,
yep,
check,
that'll
check,
do.
check. Alright.
I'll bring mine up just a smidge also. Okay,
Oh,
that
yeah,
sounds
wait,
a little bit
wait.
more level.
There you go.
It's going to be a local college event this week. Awesome.
Was it a kegger?
Tell them we said hello.
Local college event.
You won't remember me.
Yeah.
All right. Let us get on. You want to do away with the intro banner?
Yes.
I'll take care of the music and whatnot on this end.
I'm gonna try my best to go back and forth.
Back and forth, back and forth. Okay, recording in 3, 2, 1. Technorama episode 667 for March 9th, 2022. Temporal radiation. Hello and welcome to Technorama, the show that takes a lighthearted look at tech, science, sci-fi, and all things geek. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the show. We appreciate you giving us your time. And if you're coming back from parts unknown, whether it was the last episode or one about 12 years ago or 17 years ago,
Yeah.
we've all gotten a little older. Welcome back. We appreciate you coming back. My name is Chuck Tomasi, a little sore in the throat from our recent Star Trek cruise, but that's okay with me. I will gladly give up some vocal quality for a fun time with a whole bunch of celebrities and really good friends out at sea that we only get to see once a year, kinda like Dragon Con.
Yeah,
And speaking of Dragon Con, let's bring in the one and only Craig Stepp. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing well. Actually, unlike you, I've been on land, so I'm not swaying back and forth.
I am.
I didn't lose my voice, anything like that. So I'm in
You
good
gotta
shape.
join us next year. It's a whole lot of fun. As you
Yeah,
can clearly tell, I'm at the top of my game tonight.
I know. I did kind of miss being on it, but we had other things going on, so it just didn't
Yeah,
work
yeah,
out
of
this year.
course. You've always got Harrison's birthday, like, right on that week. It's like, who
Yeah,
timed the cruise? We went on the first one, it was in January, it wasn't a problem.
well, that's right. And I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great, and it was. And then the next year they announced the on that cruise they announced the dates and like, wait, March. Oh, that's on Harrison's
Doggone it.
birthday.
And it
So
doesn't sound like it's gonna be moving. It's like one day earlier because 'cause they're going Friday to Friday, but
mhm.
it is off the West Coast. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Let's save that story for, where the news goes. In the meantime, we've got some feedback for you.
Mm, 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 mm.
Letters. Oh, we get letters. We get the letters every day. Mail today. Reach right on
Usually pull
out.
one out.
Rip.
Those letters. I love those letters. Let's find out what you got to say. Oh boy. Mailman. Mail today.
All right, our
Right.
question of the week from the last show, which was a couple of weeks ago. We missed one. Yes. We're kind of doing this on and off again thing because next week we're going to be off for something. I can't remember. Craig and I worked this out. It was
We'll be
like
off for we'll make it up. We'll let you know the day before.
it was very binary. It was like that weekend is a show, that weekend is no show. This is a show, that's a no show. And all I remember it's a I'll look at my personal calendar later. But we asked you a couple shows ago or a couple of weeks ago, what is your worst personality characteristic you find in a character? And I'm assuming you mean like books and movies and TV shows.
Sure, anything.
Because
Yeah.
I've got friends who are characters and I don't want to call out anyone specific on their
No,
personality.
fictional.
Oh,
Fictional.
good. Okay.
Fiction. Yeah.
Um, John Kratzer says arrogance, Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, that's right. John Miller Jr., our buddy, says intense rage. I would I would take that a step
Anakin Skywalker.
yeah, intense rage. I would take that a little step further. Intense rage for no reason because there's been several shows or movies and stuff, and you're like, why is this guy really angry? It could have been
Wasn't
settled with
Batman based on intense rage? His
yeah.
whole avenging.
I'm not gonna say intense rage. I think he was doing it to avenge his parents, or
Okay,
anyway.
we'll go with that.
Yeah,
Let me see. I had a
you had a comment.
question of the week in here. I did have a comment. I just can't find. Oh, Myron said someone who will not keep their word. See, that could be in real life or it could be a fictional character on a movie or a book or something too.
Mhm.
I agree completely with you
Yeah.
with that one. It was a year ago that that one came up to number 1 on my list when I asked some people at work. They volunteered. First, they volunteered to help out, and it was like an 8-week project, and 6 weeks in, a couple of them went, "I can't do this in time," and I just about blew a top. It was just
Oh yeah, I
really
know.
irritating.
Oh, I remember. I remember that.
Ugh.
Yep. So I like villains that have that think they're doing the right thing and not really angry, but they're more driven. And then the things are in their way, and they have to try and get to their end goal. But I can't really think of another characteristic.
Mike says social justice smarminess.
Batman was just jealous of the Joker.
Right.
Yes.
Myron's
Social.
asking, do
There
we
you
have
go.
a Cylon in this studio? Social justice smarminess. There it is. Must have been my singing for the letters music where you went.
So what bugs you about a character?
Um, I gotta think about that one. I should have
Well,
thought
you've
about
had
it
a couple of
earlier
weeks.
today.
You had a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but I only socialized it this afternoon. It's only been a couple hours.
Right.
I can tell you what I do like. So maybe what I don't like is the antithesis of it. I
Okay.
like when there's a good balance of, like a villain, and this isn't even necessarily to villains what you like or don't like,
Mhm.
but a villain that really works well with the protagonist. They are complete opposites, and they hate each other, but they wouldn't be what they are without each other.
Yeah.
Take Holmes and Moriarty. Let's just take a classic example.
Mhm.
You gotta have a Moriarty if you're gonna have a good Holmes. Otherwise, he's just, a very observant detective that goes around and, there's nobody really there to push him harder. There's
Right.
nobody there to challenge him,
Mhm.
and even, question, is he doing the right thing at this point to go, sometimes the wrong thing is the right thing. Um, so if the villain doesn't do that, if the antagonist doesn't do that, it feels weak.
Yeah.
Which kinda reminds me of, and we'll probably get more into this on the topic is Trek, but who's the who's the big baddies in the, 29th century or wherever we are? We
Who
haven't
is
heard
the
much from the Romulans in in seasons 3 or 4.
Oh, you talking about
Oh, wait, no,
Discovery?
wait, the Romulans and the Vulcans joined for Navarre. Okay, so
Mhm.
it's not the Klingons in the 32nd century, or is
Yeah.
it? We haven't heard from them. So anyway, it's like what what is a weak characteristic? I just say, being a weak character.
Well, yeah, that's true. Oh, here you go. Just being George Clooney, maybe. I like George Clooney in certain situations, not as Batman, of course. I didn't care for him as Batman, but
Yeah. No, that one didn't work. Val Kilmer didn't work for me either. Actually, a lot of the early remakes of Batman didn't work. Anyway,
eh, yeah.
let's get on. That was our question of the week. We'll have another one for you at the end of the show. We'll socialize that and let's get on with it. And
There
we'll
we go.
roll right into the history.
All right, here we go.
No guests on the show, so we don't need to roll the dice.
And I was getting ready to reach for him, by the way.
That was weird. I was adjusting the right fader and the left one wasn't going along with me. But I adjust the left one, the right one goes along with it. It's like, they're supposed to
Interesting.
work together.
Yeah.
You just grab one. Anyway, on this day in history for March 9th, 2022, this is the 68th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. There are just, oh man, it's going so fast. Hello, March. 297 days remaining in 2022. It was on this date in 1815 that Francis Reynolds describes the first battery-operated clock in the Philosophical magazine. I ponder a clock that runs on a battery.
Yeah.
Why isn't it a Philosophical magazine?
Yeah. Well, what is the clock feeling?
Was that before Scientific American? They had Philosophical American?
That's right. That's right. Also, the clock was featured empathy. Also, on March 9th, 1841, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the United States versus the Amistad case that captive Africans who had seized control of their ship carrying them had been taken into slavery illegally.
We could probably make an entire show off of this history segment. Have you seen, there was a movie or a miniseries called The Amistad?
Yes, that was the name of it, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the name of the ship, but that was also the name of the show.
Right.
And the one thing that I can't figure out of this is like, okay, the captive Africans, they seized control of the ship and they determined that they had been taken into slavery illegally. Shouldn't all slavery have been illegally?
Well, yes.
Okay, maybe
Fortunately,
somebody
it wasn't, but yes, you're right.
maybe they were stolen slaves from another ship. I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay. Also today in 1842, the first documented discovery of gold in California occurred at Rancho San Francisco, 6 years before the California gold rush.
Oh, somebody kept it a secret. And March 9th, 1862, USS Monitor and CSS Virginia fought to draw in a battle of Hampton Roads, the first battle between two ironclad warships.
There's technology for you.
Yeah, that's right.
It was also on this date in 1954 that CBS television broadcasted the See It Now episode, a report on Senator Joseph McCarthy, produced by Fred Friendly. There's a good radio name.
He was a jerk.
If he was for McCarthyism, then he was a jerk.
Yeah, right. The Barbie doll made its debut at the American International Toy Fair in New York on this date in 1959. And she doesn't look a day over 20.
It was 62 years ago today that Dr. Belding Hibbard Scribner, nice name. That'd be a good name for a band. He implanted
spell that name again for me, please.
Dr. Belding Hibbard Scribner. He implanted for the first time a shunt he invented into a patient, which allowed the patient to receive hemodialysis on a regular basis.
Wow, that's awesome. Also on the date in March 9th, 1961, Sputnik 9 successfully launched carrying a dog and a human dummy. And
that was Carl.
Yeah, they just put a hot dog in the dummy's hand. Anyway, so and demonstrating that the Soviet Union was ready to begin human spaceflight.
It was also on this day in 1974 that the Mars 7 flyby bus released the descent module too early, and it missed Mars completely.
Yeah, oops. And on March 9th, 1987, Chrysler announced its acquisition of American Motors Corporation.
Go Gremlins. Oh. That same date in 1997, observers in China, Mongolia, and eastern Siberia were treated to a rare double feature as an eclipse, a solar eclipse, permitted the comet Hale-Bopp to be seen during the day. Remember that was the one with Heaven's Gate people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Good
yes. You're absolutely right. That's right. Yeah, that was creepy. That creeped me out, hearing about that. And it was 11 years ago today that the Space Shuttle Discovery made its final landing after 39 flights.
That's pretty good reuse. I'd say they achieved their objective on reusable parts on that. Oh, yeah. Happy birthday goes out on this day to Italian cartographer and explorer Amerigo Vespucci, born on this date in 1451. If it weren't for good old Amerigo, we might be not named America. We might be called Vespucci Land.
Vespucci Land. German theologian, cartographer, and astronomer David Fabricius. Huh? Fabricius?
That's what you spray on your clothes to make them smell nice.
That's right. That's right. Fabricius was born 458 years ago today, and that means that he won't care how I pronounce his name.
Amasa Leland Stanford, the American businessman and politician, founded, you got it, Stanford University. He was born 198 years ago today.
Yes, an American soldier and engineer founded Klipsch. I'm like Klipsch. Why did I say it like that?
Don't you buy audio equipment, man?
I know. Klipsch Audio Technologies. Paul Wilbur Klipsch was born 118 years ago today.
You clipshed those headphones on your head. American classical violin prodigy and theremin player. You know what the theremin is. It's one of these. Where is it? Okay, well, anyway, you can't play two of these at once. It doesn't work.
Right.
Never mind. Okay. Clara Rockmore was... Oh, well, now we can play it. Here, this is the theremin because the other music ended. The Martians are coming.
Hey, you know what? The theremin, 1911. The theremin, it can be cool in the right condition, but sometimes it sounds so artificial if it's played not in the right spot, or it sounds.
Gotta get it anyway. In a Beach Boys song, for example. It sounds cool. Okay, who's next on our list?
All right, so American classical violin prodigy and
no, I already said that one.
Russian colonel, pilot, and astronaut Yuri Gagarin.
Gargantuan. Gregarious.
Gagarin was born 88 years ago today.
He would have been 88 today.
Wow.
That's how old my dad will be in June.
Wow, really? Okay.
Wow. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also turning 87 today is American engineer. Of course, Yuri is no longer with us. 87 today, American engineer and businessman, co-founded Qualcomm. His name did not have the word Qualcomm in it. His
No.
name was Andrew Viterbi
Andrew Viterbi, Qualcomm.
or Viterbi.
American chess player and author Bobby Fischer was born on this date in 1943.
And born that same date in 1971. Holy smokes, he's 51 years old today, kids.
Wow.
After Emmanuel Lewis.
Wow. Can you
That's
believe
not
that?
That's not don't be confusing him with Gary Coleman. So don't give me
No.
what you talk about, Lewis.
I know
Happy
who he is.
birthday goes out today to some of our listeners on March 11th. Andy Helsby of Absolutely. Ken Kitzman, aka Kitscan, on the 11th. Also, Johanna Gonzalez, aka Mighty Joe, is on the 13th. And don't forget, everybody, March 14th is Pie Day.
Yay, I got some pie in the fridge ready for it.
At least in the US it is, where we write our days backwards. So go with that. That's the way it was on this day in history for March 9th, 2022. And if you want to get your birthday on the birthday calendar, put that link up there for them. Go to chuckchat.com/birthday, because when he puts that on the screen, I can actually read it. I don't have to remember a thing that way. Works great for post-cruise brain.
Yeah, and
How many astronauts?
that old brain of yours losing the gray matter.
But that's coming up. That's an article we got coming up, and there may be a reason for that. How many astronauts are named Dave? I don't know. Ask Google. It's my answer.
Well, I know one. He was on 2001 Space Odyssey.
I can't open the pod bay doors. Hell, can't do that, Dave.
That's right.
Okay, let's do this one then.
Good news, everyone.
All right. Well, we have some news. Quick recap. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we just got back from the Star Trek cruise. So I wanted to give everybody a quick recap of how that went, what that went, where we're going. We're going to go deeper into this and probably have CJ with us as a guest for The Topic is Trek over at thetopicistrek.com.
Yeah,
So
we'll be recording that later this week.
Might even be a separate show. There's probably gonna be so much content because we got 2 Picards and 2 Discoveries to work with also, unless you want a 6-hour episode of The Topic is Trek.
Well, hey, spoiler alert, Chuck didn't make it out on a plank, so he made it back.
That's an awful long plank from 11 decks up. What's that first step?
Yeah.
So we left on, actually, Donna and I flew down on Thursday the 24th. And arrived at the hotel, found this awesome sushi place, but we're not going to get into all the details. I don't know what they do down there, but the shrimp is twice as good as it is anywhere else. It like melts in your mouth and the tail comes off without pinching the tail. It's like,
anyway. Well, let's put things in perspective. Arizona does not have ocean attached to it.
I've been to many other oceanside places.
Okay.
Trust me, this is awesome shrimp. But anyway, aside from the shrimp, there was a Friday night get together at the Radisson Hotel, which is about a quarter mile from our hotel. So we walked over there, met a whole bunch of new people. It was one of those parties where the later it goes, the louder it gets. And then we started getting hungry. So we went over and got some more sushi and then came back. And most of the people we were sitting with had dissipated. So we called it a night, but we met a bunch of people that we saw on the cruise. There's this phenomenon, if have never been on a cruise, where you see the same 10 people over and over and over again. It
happens at a con too. We've had that happen at con, yes.
Or when you buy a vehicle, it's like, well, suddenly everybody's got a Honda Accord. Who knew?
Yeah. But a cruise is a little more captive audience, so you're more bound to run into people.
Right. And it's the faces you recognize already. You might not even remember their names. But I did learn a new trick to remember people's names.
Okay.
I take a picture of them or take a selfie with them. And then on the phone, I'd use an annotation, either write with my finger or you type with the keyboard and say, this is Ken and this is Destiny and this is Rhea. And it would make a duplicate. So I still had the original, but then I had one with the name on it. And then it would help drive it into the brain. So next time you saw them, you remembered their name.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
We left from Port Canaveral rather than Miami or Fort Lauderdale or Tampa, which are other common cruise departures. And while we were kicking around on Friday, I think it was, the SpaceX rocket came in on its barge.
Oh, yeah.
The first stage that was standing up. And at first we're looking out. We're at this really tall building called the Exploration Tower. We're looking out. It's like, look at that lighthouse out there. That's kind of neat. All of a sudden the lighthouse moved and it was coming in. So it was actually the rocket on a barge. Got some neat pictures and videos of it going by right in the canal and they it was gone by the time we got back. But we let's see if I don't have the entire guest list of what the celebrities were on there, but John Delancey was there, uh, George Takei, Walter Koenig. Those were some of the major names. Denise
Mhm.
Crosby, who's been on the cruise before, Sonequa Martin Green.
She was
uh,
new. That was new. She was
she
new this
was
time.
new. Yes, they got a few more Discovery people on there. Anthony Rapp and Wilson
Mhm.
Cruz were on there this year. Um, Emily Coots, who plays Kayla Detmer on Discovery, was there. Let me see, if I go through the series, I can probably narrow down who was on there. So from TOS, we had the 2, Sulu and Chekhov.
Mhm.
Uh, from TNG, we had Denise Crosby, John Delancey. Um, it'd probably be easier if I just pull up the web page, but I won't. We also had, Voyager, we had Tim Russ. We had, maybe I should just look at some of the pictures real fast and jog my brain here. Who else did we have? A lot of great people, mostly the secondary and tertiary characters.
Well, you had Kate Mulgrew on there, right?
That was last time. 2 years ago, we had Kate Mulgrew.
Oh,
Chase
that's right.
Masterson returned again.
Mhm.
Um, Terry Farrell was on there. Um, Kenneth Mitchell has returned.
Mhm. I
He's
saw him.
now
I saw a
yeah.
picture of him.
He's declining, but he's still got a wicked sense of humor. He has, one of those machines like Stephen Hawking had where he uses eye gestures and whatnot to trigger it and spell out his words, so everything's gotta be done in advance. But, Mary Chieffo was back.
Oh, by
Um,
the way, anybody that doesn't know, he played Cole in Discovery, and he has Lou Gehrig's disease.
he played Cole
Oh, he
Cole
played several.
Shaw. He
Yeah,
played several characters, including one
yeah,
on Discovery season 3, 4, season
yeah.
4.
While he was still
And,
able to speak back then.
yeah. And, ALS is same thing as Stephen Hawking. Jane Brooke, who plays Admiral Cornwall, was on there as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
John Billingsley, who plays Phlox on Enterprise. Anthony Montgomery, who plays, Mayweather, Travis
Mhm.
Mayweather. Connor Trenier was on there, who plays Trip.
Yes.
Lots of new faces.
Mhm.
We had 2 from Picard, aside from John Delancey, of course. We had Issa Briones and Evan Evagora. They're yeah, and a lot of times people were really nice. If you just stop them at the right time. You obviously don't. Max Grodenchik was on there from,
Oh, yeah.
DS9, along with
He's a
Terry Farrell, I
he's a
mentioned.
staple on that cruise.
He is, so they've got, booking for the next cruise will be open March 15th if you're interested. So just
Mhm.
look for Star Trek: The Cruise, and you'll find all the information there. A lot of fun, um, you know,
Did
seeing
you
we
meet
stopped in.
anybody in person? Did you talk to anybody? What'd you do?
Oh, yeah, I had a great discussion with Tim Russ on the last night.
Oh.
Evan Evagora, he was waiting to get into the sushi hibachi place on board.
Mhm.
Um, Mary Chieffo and her partner, Maddie, were a lot
Mhm.
of fun. Um, Dr. Aaron McDonald got engaged on
Oh, really?
board. We just
Okay.
happened to be walking by one of the bars on the 4th deck, got off the elevator, and we saw this big crowd gathered around, like, the piano bar, and, literally right in time for her fiancé, Eva A Aaron with Aaron. So she's Erin and he's Aaron.
Oh, that's gonna be great when they start saying, "Hey, can you sign these mortgage papers?" Aaron, 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 Aaron.
Aaron. Spelled 2 different ways, but literally as he was saying, you know, "Would you take my hand in marriage or be my wife?" or whatever it was. So, I mean, the crowd just erupted at that point. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
We stopped it's funny because when you go to cruise, people say, "Oh, where are you going?" "On the Star Trek cruise." I go, "I don't care."
Yeah.
I'm not there
Oh,
to
we
see NASA or the Caymans or whatever. It's like
yeah.
I'm there to see the celebrities and see friends that I only get to see once a year and
Mhm.
have a good time. We tried a couple we stopped in Nassau, Bahamas, we
Mhm.
stopped in St. Thomas, and we stopped in St. Martin. So there was a few days at sea between there because it's a long way between
Yep.
those islands and everything else. So it was a lot of fun. We, did a few new things. We tried the water slide, hadn't done that in the past.
Hmm.
So Donna and I had races. They had side-by-side water slides. We did the silent disco. Hadn't done that in the past because it's usually pretty late. Like,
Mhm.
"Hey, we're starting this new midnight to 2 AM." It's like, "We're gonna stay up and do
Yeah.
that." So that was a lot of fun. You put on these headphones. There's no DJ, and if you
Right.
want the headphones off, you can usually talk to people. So you put these headphones on that have a short range radio on them.
Right.
They're playing 2 stations, so you can usually switch if you don't like one song. And you could see which stations people are listening to
Oh, you
because
can.
the
Okay.
headphones have LEDs on them that are green or blue. Are you listening to the green station or are you listening to the blue station?
That's cool.
And it's really funny because if you take the headphones off, you got half the people who are, going, "Don't stop believing," and the
Oh,
other
no.
ones are,
But
singing some pop song that's younger than I am, and it
but you're
was
gonna say,
really
if you take your headphones off, you hear a bunch of feet shuffling?
at
You're like,
first, yes, and there was some conversation, but after a while, everybody starts singing, YMCA, and you can't do that song without singing it. So it's just funnier than heck. For about a half hour or so, I took them off, and I think it was "Don't Stop Believin'." I didn't have my headphones on, and I was singing more words than they were. It's like
oh, yeah.
everybody just jumps in at the chorus, and then they played, was it "Living on a Prayer" or some Bon Jovi song? Like, "Come on, people.
Mhm.
Come on. Here's the rest of the
Yeah.
words."
That's
Line,
funny.
please. It was fun. Of course, there was lots of great food to be had. We did go to a whiskey tasting. They had sort of onboard excursions as well as onshore excursions. And
Right.
unlike previous years where you booked a shore excursion with one of the celebrities, they were shore excursions. And if you're lucky, a celebrity would show up, but they wouldn't announce it as, go snorkeling with Chase Masterson or go RVing with Tim Russ or whatever it was. Uh, it was like you're going RVing and, maybe Garrett Wang will show up. On board, it was this is wine tasting with Terry Farrell, and this is whiskey sampling or rum. Some of them were alcohol, some were not. We had Chase Masterson's charity breakfast,
Mhm.
and we did a whiskey tasting with Dr. Aaron,
Imme
MacDonald with a name like
imme
MacDonald.
I mean, immediately after breakfast, you had the whiskey tasting, or is this a different time
No,
frame?
no, it was after the T-shirt party where they're passing out free booze, so I was trying to
Mm.
get my money's worth of that free booze on deck,
Right. Right.
and then we went to the whiskey tasting, and by the time we got done with that, I was a little double visioned. Had to go
I
on the deck
I
and clear
imagine so.
my head for a while.
Right. So
Um,
I do wanna ask this because I'm
yes.
curious. I know that there was a lot of COVID protocols going on in the ship.
Yes.
Was that an issue?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
It was, you had to have your double shots and vax or
Mhm.
booster. You had to have and bring the original card.
Mhm.
You also had to have, a negative test after what was it, like 6 AM or it's midnight Thursday. So you had Thursday, Friday, and part of Saturday before you boarded to get that
Mhm.
test.
Sure.
So we went out and bought some that were proctored, and then you show them the barcode that you get on the app. Oh, was it Nevada or something? There's an app that will have the record of it, the
Right.
date, the serial number, all that stuff is tracked. So
Mhm.
we wanted to test before we even went on the plane because if you're positive and asymptomatic, I'm not even gonna go to Florida. Why should I, get my
Well, yeah.
refund on the plane trip
Yeah.
and something? So
Yeah.
that it worked out all right, and you felt confident. Everybody was negative. Now there may have been some false negatives, not but we never heard anybody getting
Well,
sick.
there's always that one person that's, "I'm feeling a little down, but I'm still gonna go." You
Many
know,
but if you failed that
happens.
test, you can't go.
I know. I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah,
it
I mean,
happens.
you
People
have
go
to
to
have
work,
that
and
negative.
go, I'm feeling all right, and
It was
blah."
really nice to be back in sort
Yeah.
of a mode of normalcy. You could
Mhm.
wear a mask if you want. Many of the guests, I mean, most of the time I saw who was it? Um, uh, Bob Picardo. Robert Picardo was wearing a mask most of the time,
Mhm.
especially when he was around guests and whatnot. When he was performing, obviously he didn't. But, yeah, there were some that just I think Garrett Wang wore a mask most of the time, unless he was performing.
Yeah.
Uh, we did get a picture of him in the elevator after his comedy act, the day after, so, but he didn't have it he had the mask off, so that's how I recognized him.
Well, I was just curious if,
Yeah,
if there's an issue, but, I mean,
none at all, none at all, didn't feel the slightest
well,
threat.
even now, it's funny because even now, like this weekend,
Yeah.
We went to a little small bar near a hotel, and you would have you if you had just woken up from a coma, you'd be forgiven for not thinking anything happened because everybody it was so packed. I never seen so many people back in a bar like pre-pandemic. So, which it felt good. You know, you see a bunch of people
Yes.
around. You know,
It
so
was nice being able to talk to people like people again. So
hmm
it
yeah. Instead of hey, Drake, how you doing, brother? So
exactly. Yeah.
I for the
Or
record,
if it did get to be a noisy environment, you could put your head
mhm,
up close and go, "Excuse me, what'd you say?" Get
yeah,
your ear closer to their mouth without feeling
hmm
threatened in any way.
yeah. Yeah, I know you have and I have. We've been wearing masks and stuff, but I'm so tired of wearing masks. I'm ready to move on from that.
They've dropped the requirements, and there what you had to still wear them in the terminal building, so when you're boarding
Hmm
and offboarding, and obviously the airports as well. But it was that wasn't a problem. That wasn't a
hmm
problem. And I wore one to church this morning, just even though I think Arizona dropped their mask mandate.
hmm
Like, I just got back from a cruise. If I pick something up on Saturday, I don't want to be spreading it around on Sunday.
hmm
So just to be fair to others,
Yeah, sure.
in a few days, I probably won't wear one much anymore, which is a
Yeah.
bummer because I bought a whole bunch of Star Trek themed masks from Etsy.
Right. So you didn't wear any of them on the cruise?
I wore a couple for a little while,
Mhm.
and then I wore, like, my black and gray mask in the airport and whatnot, so people would
Right.
recognize, "Oh, Star Trek, you must be going on the cruise."
That's right.
Alright, we have some more show to do other
I
than that.
I was gonna say maybe we should, shorten a little couple of the articles here.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. Let's go through the new stuff. We have a study that says 1 drink per day can shrink your brain. This is a study by CNN, and it's more of an association. This isn't an official study that says this is a cause and effect.
Mhm.
But, they said on average, people at age 50 who drank a pint of beer or 6-ounce glass of wine, which they counted as 2 alcohol units per day in the last month, had brains that appeared 2 years older than those who drank a half a beer or 1 unit. Now, they said it's not linear. If you drink 4, you're gonna be 4 years older.
Yeah.
At some point, they said, they described what 1 alcohol unit is. It's 10 milliliters or 8 grams of pure alcohol. So, you're gonna get different things if you're downing Glenlivet versus, Miller Lite. Uh, they said drinking 4 alcohol units a day 4 alcohol units a day ain't much, kids. It's 2 beers. Uh, but 2 beers a day would age a person's brain by more than 10 years. And they had like 36,000 people in this study, but they didn't have data beyond 1 year. So
Well
there's more study. It's like, hey, we didn't find a whole lot of hard evidence that we can tie to a study, but more study is warranted on this.
well, I did read it was on Reddit. This guy said he had a PhD in, um, what was it? Brains? I don't know. Whatever the
I have a
whatever the
PhD
study.
in brains. So do
So
zombies.
so he said he had some insight on all of this, and he said one of the things that is good to remember when this with this kind of study was although it was a semi-large group, this was all self-reporting.
Right.
So,
And it was
um,
all in the
which
UK too. So I
which he
mean,
pointed out, this kind of study, you're not going to have hard evidence because you're talking about people having a drink. So that's the only way you can really get data is self-reporting. So there's a
right.
little bit of that, and he said that that it's generally accepted that alcohol does have an effect on the brain, but it's not necessarily that there's this kind of causality or potential
There's
whatever.
been some studies in the past. The other thing I picked out of here was that it there's no positive benefits to drinking.
That's not true.
No,
Wine's supposed to be
yes,
good
it
for you.
is. No,
No,
no, no.
wine
The
has some benefits.
alcohol outweighs the tannins and whatnot you're supposed to be getting out of it.
If you're drinking a ton of it. I'm just
No,
saying.
no, read the full article.
Hey,
Read
look, I saw this lady. She was 116, and she said she had a drink of whiskey every day, and that was
Yeah,
her
and George
secret.
Burns used
So,
to smoke cigars, but one person does not make the
cigar.
he smokes cigars every day. She's
I
like, "Yeah,"
know.
and he would drink every day, but that's a
Mhm.
rare, rare exception that these people live that long.
So,
Anyway,
But
there's a
there's
lot
been
of things
what
that'll
I'm
kill
saying
you.
is there's been studies that say, oh, well, there's benefit to having some alcohol, but not overdoing it for sure.
Let's go to the study, not a study, but a clinic. What is this? A clinic in Surrey, England,
Yes,
that is doing some new. What do they call this? Not invasive, but moderately invasive. What do they call that?
interventional
Interventional.
radiology.
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Interventional surgery, interventional radiology suite. So it's a new hospital that's opened up, and they're doing these kind of outpatient surgeries that will either use cryoablation, which is
Hmm.
freezing the cells around a tumor,
Right.
or microwave ablation, which is heating them. So I didn't get a whole lot of details from this because honestly, the guys presenting in this video are terrible.
Yeah, it was a little bit, but I
It was
thought it
it
was
was
an
very
interesting story
dry.
though. Yeah.
But I envisioned like a laparoscopic thing where, if let's say you had some cancer on your kidneys or something, they would go in and either freeze it or microwave it, and
Hmm.
that would be the end of it, and you'd be going home that day rather
Yeah.
than
With little to no healing you have to do. I mean,
yeah, I mean, obviously, anytime there's invasive surgery,
mhm.
you got some healing to do,
No,
but obviously
comparatively, it's pretty it seemed pretty minor what they were talking about.
and it would obviously depend on the extensiveness of the tumor and the spread
Mhm.
of cancer. If it was a whole kidney that was eaten up by cancer, you can't really go zappy zappy, you're done. It would have to
Yeah.
be spot things.
They're not
So,
miracle workers for crying out loud.
no. It's interesting because I've got a friend tomorrow, that's going in tomorrow for an ablation, but I wanna ask more questions about, is it related to this? But obviously I can't
Hmm.
ask him tonight. But,
Then
let's
get
see
him
when
on
he
the
gets
phone.
yeah. "Hey, Tom, did they say they're not sending you over to Surrey, are they?"
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. We also have another article in the news section before we go. One more from space.com that states Space Force is planning to send a patrol probe out past the moon. And I
Yeah, see,
didn't really
I thought
quite
that sounded
understand
interesting.
why. I
To look
mean,
for that moon base.
yeah, it sounds like this is just, hey, we're going to go out there just to keep an eye on things because nobody's keeping an eye on things out there.
Well,
But
space Earth has to do something to justify their existence, right?
it says it's the first step for them to be able to see to know what's going on in the cislunar space and then identify any potential threats to U.S. activities. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, The U.S. Space Force will ensure the peaceful development of space, keeping our missions safe and secure in these distant frontiers, the video states. The responsible use of space and unfettered access to space domain awareness ensures collision avoidance, on orbit logistics, communication, navigation, and maneuvering. Now, I don't know if this is related to the project that Steve Wozniak is semi funding to
Oh,
go out and catalog all the space junk, but I know it's not going to happen from the moon. It's going to be more of a low to mid or Earth orbit thing to say, okay, before we can plan any projects to clean up this stuff, we got to know what's out there, and that's on the table as well. So there wasn't any association that I could tell between that mission and this mission.
hmm. I'm surprised we don't have orbiter around the moon now. I mean, we've had one in there in the past, but
They keep crashing into the moon.
well, there is that. But no, I mean, why don't we have something? It's right there. I mean, why don't we just have something, even if we replace it every 10, 15 years?
I don't know. What's out there that we need to keep an eye on? The moon isn't changing too much.
Well, how do you know? Because you're not monitoring it.
Because you could see it from here.
Yeah, well, that's true. You can
Turn
see,
your
you can see
telescope
half
on.
of it. You can see half of it from here.
Sometimes you can't see any of it because it's not lit up.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
sun's in the way.
Like tonight,
Anyway,
it's starting to fade away.
while we're in space, let's go over to the Hacks' Strange Stories.
Personal space.
From popsci.com, we've got an article about these little, what do you call them, robotic?
Yeah, it says a little robot. Look like a little
They're
cube, to be
they're
honest with you.
3D printed cubes. They look like,
Mhm.
a wireframe almost, but they've got
Mhm.
some circuit boards and other stuff inside of the cube, which almost make them look like an electronic tesseract in a way.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
and they can reconfigure themselves, which is important. They're going to start doing this in space, and maybe if they can get the details worked out, start doing this on Earth-based stations as well. Why would you want these little cubes? Well, they can rearrange themselves into a number of combinations because space is so precious on things like the ISS.
Mhm.
You may need a chair one day, and you may need a table the next, and you may need a standing desk the next. And these things can rearrange themselves into those types of furnishings. Wow, we're
Furnishings.
doing
There you go.
great on the lyrics tonight.
Yeah. I
So
think
I
it's a
thought,
pretty cool idea. I mean, we've seen stuff like this in the past, similar, but I guess if they miniaturize that, they could really do something extraordinary. Where they kind of then
yep.
we end up with programmable matter. Like from Discovery. I want a chair. No, I want a table. I want a table and chair.
Well, right. That's what I was thinking at first too, or where the floor suddenly appears in front of them and
Yeah.
they walk on it. I was like, well, that wasn't there 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
theirs is a lot more high resolution than these 2x2 or 3x3 cubes or whatever they are.
Hey, I
They're
don't care
calling
what
them,
century you're in. If you're walking across the floor and there's nothing in front of you, that's got to be a little unnerving.
they're going to look at these in the future. They're going to look at these and go, wow, those are like 8-bit graphics of reprogrammable matter.
That's
Look
the
how
crappiest
big they are.
chair. Yeah, look how uncomfortable this chair is.
You just sit on a circuit board. Who wants to do that? They're calling these Electro Voxels. And the article says Electro Voxels offer a cheap and easy to build solution. The electromagnetic lining of the 3D printed frames allows cubes to seamlessly attract, repel, or even turn themselves off. One cube takes a little over an hour to make and only costs 60 cents. That's impressive on its own.
That is impressive. Yeah.
So cheap and easy. They just got to reduce the size, but that'll probably increase the price. It looks like they have, it could be an Arduino Nano on there, could be an ESP32. I can't really tell from here,
Oh yeah.
but it's a little specialized controller, and then various wires to.
Raspberry Pi. That's a Pi.
Is that a Pi Zero?
I think it's a Pi Zero.
Okay, so each one of these cubes has a little Pi on the frame, and then inside has wiring to control the electromagnets on the corners and sides. The wire, excuse me, the framework between the corners,
Mhm.
that makes the 6 sides of what would be a D6.
Yep.
The edge pieces are wound with wire, so it looks like they're charging
Yeah.
electromagnets on and
So
off.
the
So
stick.
you got the
Yeah.
coils. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. I wanna know how you program these or signal these. Is it an IKEA of Borg? Yeah, there we go. Thanks, Mike Robeson. That's
Yeah.
exactly what we're looking at. We are
That's
the
funny.
Borg. We can make furniture.
Right.
Okay. Let's give a shout out to the chat room. We've got a number of people that are out there. We've seen
Yeah.
Amy Bowen and Mike Robeson. We had John Miller Jr. a little while ago.
Oh, wait a
Seen
minute. By the way,
Pookie
Amy
tonight.
says,
I'm amazed you're doing the show tonight rather than taking a night to decompress from the trip. That was last night, was decompress. That's wonderful, and I'm delighted to hear more about the cruise. Thank you. The show must go on.
that's right. So,
John Miller
Amy,
Jr.,
Mike Robinson, John
Ralph
Miller
Wangler was
Jr.
here.
Yeah. Myron Dupler.
Felipe Nascimento from Brazil was here earlier too. Wow.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
we got some listeners all over the place, including the Borg.
That's right.
So if you want to be part of this chat room, there's your cue for another banner, Craig. If you want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
part of the chat room, you can go to our Facebook page. We do this on Sundays at 9:30 Eastern time, which
Or
after you change your clocks is going to be Sundays at 9:30 Eastern time or 6:30 Pacific.
Mhm.
Or you can
Or-
watch on YouTube.
yeah, you can go subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notified when we go live. Just hit the little bell and subscribe. So like and subscribe.
I should hope everybody here knows how to like and subscribe by this point.
Yeah.
We are talking to fairly intelligent people. All right.
Well,
Also,
there are
wanna-
listeners. That's a good start. So yeah, I
Right.
would say they're
okay,
yeah.
kill the banner.
All right. Here we go.
You got another one to put up here because it's time for the patrons. We want to give a huge thank you to the people who help fund this show because they make this go. There is streaming, there is hosting, there is software upgrades, there's all kinds of stuff that goes into making a podcast besides our two ugly mugs. And these are the people that bring you our two ugly mugs. So blame them. It's Alexis Duran, Amber Elstad, Amy Bowen, who happens to be with us in the chat tonight, Abner Braverman, Ben Vaughn, Brian Brown. Thank you to Chris MC, Dan DeMan Coyer, Dean Jensen, Denise Inglis, Gary Lindros. Gary wasn't on tonight. Steve London, he's in there. Just saw him put up a comment on there. John Clifford, John Noble, Yorga Schrauen, Kyle Nishioka, Leon, Mark Kilfoyle, Matt Baum, Mike Wills, Chris Martinez, Saturday Morning Media, Stephen Weshy, Steve Therian, Steve Cody, and as I just mentioned, Steve London. All of them went to patreon.com/Technorama podcast. And for as little as $1 a show, you might not think that's a whole lot, but it's a whole lot to us. Yes. That can mean the difference of an entire month of bringing you the video here. So very happy that many of you have decided to do that. And we really do greatly appreciate it. We're watching the money wisely and spending it where it needs to be, not frivolously. I'm starting to sound like one of those sending food to Sudan or something. Every penny goes directly to funding the podcast, nowhere else. That's what we do. So patreon.com/Technorama podcast. And not only do they get their name read on the show, that dollar gets them a special episode of Technorama where Craig and I just kind of kick back. It's like a behind the stage talk with us. So instead of the produced Technorama, we're getting inside thoughts and ideas and what we're working on and how's it going and what we learned, those kinds of discussions. Very informal, kick back with a couple of geeks. Well, which is kind of what this show was supposed to be. But
it's an extended version. There you go.
All right, the unscripted one, because this was all scripted. No, it's not. Okay, we have one thing in the past from the remote, so let's play that music.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Steve London just said it's like 4:25 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, there you go.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, it is. So let me go turn off this banner.
Happy Monday to you, Steve.
Got that. Turn that off. There we go. And the one thing I wanted to talk about, I know you've been on a cruise, so I don't know how much you've actually watched or done anything. So
pretty much all Star Trek. They had like 5-6 channels of Star Trek.
So you got to see the Star Trek, the Picard premiere, which I'm not going to talk about here, but I enjoyed it. I don't know about
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun because as soon as Evan showed up on the screen, the whole theater erupted. And then when Issa showed up on the screen, cheers to the ceiling. And then, of course, at the end, no spoilers, but the third member who was on that panel we spoke of earlier.
Well, not spoiler because he's in the trailers.
Yeah, that's true. They gave some cheers for Whoopi Goldberg reprising her Guinan role as well. So it was a lot of fun just feeling that visceral reaction. Like, yeah. And they were in the theater. They were like in the first row. They came up beforehand and did their little intro and then had a panel the next day on it. So it was a lot of fun. Like I've never been to like a live screening like that.
I was gonna say, I think I've been to something similar to that. I'm trying to remember where it was. Anyway, but yeah, it's really cool to be involved in something like, or be a part of that. And anyway, I thought Picard started off with a good bang. And
what have you been watching while I was at sea?
So here's something. It just came out on the 3rd. So I didn't watch a whole lot last week, except for I'm still making my way through Clone Wars, watching it episode to episode instead of the ad hoc way I've seen it before.
Yeah, because there is a story arc in there.
There is, and I'm missing a lot of nuanced stuff. Although, as I watched The Mandalorian and the Boba Fett, I knew some of the highlights, and I was like, okay, that's from that. But watching it from top to bottom, it's good. It's a good series. Anyway, but I'm here to talk about Our Flag Means Death, which is a Taika Waititi project. It's on HBO Max, and it is loosely based on. I'm gonna read you the little thing here. It's loosely based on the life of Stead Bonnet. He was an aristocrat who abandons his comfortable life to prove himself as a pirate. So he was known as the gentleman pirate, and he's having trouble kind of being this pirate persona, he's too nice. That's what the way they
I
play it.
say, would you hand over all of your gold?
Yeah, that's about it. It's almost like a little bit of Yellowbeard in there somewhere. Although Yellowbeard wasn't nice, but you get the idea.
Your Jolly Roger has a smile on it
Yeah,
and a
but
rainbow.
it is funny. It's got that kind of dry humor, kind of like Monty Python or something like that, a little bit. So, or if you've seen What We Do in the Shadows, which is almost like an Office take
Oh,
of
yes, I
the
did
vampire.
watch. Yeah,
That's what this is kind of like in a way. A little
okay.
more on the storytelling part.
Bit of
Uh,
tongue in cheek in there.
yeah. Oh my God. It's. I think it's really good. So, uh, they released. They released 3 episodes, or at least there are 3 of them on there right now, and there's supposed to be a few more, and they'll be coming out on Thursdays. So, so far I can recommend that. I'm enjoying it. I thought it was hilarious, especially when he's just trying to be nice, and he's they the ship uh runs aground and I'm on a beach, and he's like, let's look at this as like a vacation. A vacation? What's that, Captain? And you got to do fun things on the beach. And anyway, it's that kind of thing. It's
Our Flag Means Death on HBO Max. All right, gonna have to
yeah,
look for that. That
yeah.
sounds
You got to go
great.
check that out. Yeah, actually, I was thinking of you when I was watching it. I was like, I think Chuck will be down for something like this.
That
So
does sound fun.
yeah. So there we go. That's it. That's all I got.
Steve says, "Thanks, we love the Mondays."
Yeah. Sounds like he's got a case of the Mondays.
Not in Sweden, they don't.
Right.
All right, one last thing from the Geek Library, wherever my Geek Library music is. There it is. We have a blast from the past. We have an article from cybernews.com that has the finest retro PCs people use. And there is an embedded video where they cover about 5 of them. And then there's a
Mhm.
big long list in this article that goes on and on and on. And
Yeah.
they've got everything from, I would call some more modern classics, the iMac G3, with the tangerine and the aqua and the different colored ones. They were the all-in-one. The first, I would call it first OS 10 machines. And they've got, what was it, like a 16-pound laptop from Compaq. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
286
Yeah. There was this.
Macintosh SC. They got your favorite, the Commodore 64 in there.
Yeah. There was that one thing. It looks like it came out of a sci-fi movie, but it's like it's a Windows PC, but I'm not sure who makes that. It says found a really unique luggable, and it is unique for sure. It looks really rich.
These
Anyway,
are different pictures than what I saw
so
before.
so if you scroll, yeah, down at the bottom under the article, it looks like they were going through the retro battle stations, which is a subreddit, and you can go subscribe to, of course. But there's different pictures people have been posting. Like here's a reproduction case and mouse of the prototype 20th anniversary Mac and keyboard, and then there's this weird, like I said, very sturdy looking.
Oh, the found on German eBay.
Yeah, that's it.
It looks like a version of the old IBM PC portable PC or the portable PC 2.
But look, it's got a cable coming out, going down, with a keyboard connect.
You
It's
gotta
weird.
connect the keyboard and trackball to something
I know, but it's just an interesting
with an
design.
amber screen. That's
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah. And then there's a couple of PCs that look, like any off the shelf kind of
Craig, correct
homegrown.
me if I'm wrong, but was there more than one version of the C64? Because I remember the tan one with the dark
Yeah,
brown keyboard. That
right.
is
If you look
not
at
what they showed in the video.
at the beginning of the video, there was a C64. It was like it came out after the 128, so they used that kind of same design. The
Yeah,
Commodore
it looked
128.
like the 128.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It did look similar. I think they brought it out. I want to say it was after the 128. Yep.
Okay.
But there's some interesting, very old one. There's a pet computer on a stand. It looks
They
like
had
a table
several
stamp.
pets in here. They had the S pet and the original
Well,
pet.
remember when we went to the Computer History Museum, they had all kinds of variations on the pet.
Right.
You know, one was like a cash register type. One was had a keyboard layout I was not even familiar with.
I don't know if you can call the ADM5 terminal an actual computer. Because it was like a VT220. It just hooked up to something else.
Yeah, I don't know if it really did any compute. Well, I would argue if you had a unit like I would plug up a serial cable to a terminal back in the past, and it had to
Right.
interpret the serial data to
Yeah,
display on
but
the
it's
screen.
not
So
doing any computing the way that you would conventionally
not
think of
not in the traditional way, but I think
running local
yeah,
applications.
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not traditional way, but I mean,
I I like the caption on the picture though. It says, "Finally got my work at home set up the way I want it."
yeah,
It's got this whole I remember it was a keyboard with like 10 function keys, and it was an all-in-one unit. So the screen and the keyboard were one housing. It
mhm.
was a CRT green screen. I think I remember seeing black and whites, and there was one knob on it, and that was to control the brightness of the screen right above the numeric keypad. That was
That's
it.
right. That's it, right? That's it right
They
there.
had a number of those at the university when I started.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
see the knob right on the
yep,
front.
yep. But yeah, that's funny because that technically that was my original work from home outfit in like the mid 90s, early 90s, whatever it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wow.
would dial in from home a lot of times.
Wow, you're like old, man.
Mhm. Yeah. And the girl in the video says, some of these computers are older than me. I went, oh dear Lord.
Right. Yeah. I
If you
think we
wanted to
predate
find
a
a
lot of
computer,
these.
if you
We
wanted to
predate
find a
all of them.
computer older than me, you're gonna have to look harder than that.
Yeah.
So it's a fun article and a fun video. Go through there and check them out and see if you recognize any of them. There were some new faces that I hadn't seen,
I
and
also recommend going checking out that subreddit. There's a bunch
the
of posts
subreddit.
in
There's
there.
also Facebook groups. There's one called Vintage Unix Computers that I belong to. That
Yes, I remember. Did I
and
can't
yeah,
remember if you
the
told
guy
me
who
that or I
started
told
that,
you
the
that.
moderator, the admin of that group, is someone that I used to hang out with online back in Wisconsin. So that was really fun.
That's cool. Yeah, I want to say I think you told me about, or I
Yep.
think you
Yep.
liked something and I saw it pop up.
Yeah, or I
So
invited you to the group or something. Yeah,
maybe, yeah.
they're always after, the Sun Spark stations of the next cubes, obviously the vintage Unix computers.
Here's a
And, it's, "Hey, does anybody have a power supply for one of these things?" They used to kill power supplies on a nightly basis.
right.
Oh,
Here's
that's
a
the, yeah,
here's
go
one
ahead.
piece. I was looking in that retro battle stations uh, subreddit. And there's a picture of a gaming setup, and it has Duke Nukem 3D on the screen.
That's not
Oh
that
man,
old, kids. That's not old enough for me.
not that old, but yeah, it's funny.
So that takes us to the end of the show. We do have one question of the week for you before we go. Something to ponder until we come back. What character, book, or movie name would make a great band name? I have recently stopped saying great band name because I think I'm done finding my ultimate band name, but I'm
Uh-huh.
going to start. A lot of great band names also make great album names. If you think about it, a lot of album names are could be great band names. So maybe you name your band after, you could call your band Freeze Frame, think,
Or I got
right?
another. I got an idea for next week's question
What
after this. Then
character, book, or movie? You mean like The Grapes of Wrath?
Mordor. Actually, I think when I said that, I was thinking of Trogdor.
Gollum. That'd be a good band name.
Gollum.
Trogdor.
Yeah,
Trogdor
Trogdor.
would be a great band name. That's
It
probably
is.
make a good. You'd probably get sued if you tried
Yeah,
putting that as an album or a band.
by Strong Bad.
But what was it? Lady Gaga was her band name was inspired by Radio Gaga by Queen. So I mean, there's lots of
You can take
history in.
inspiration for other things. Yeah,
Yeah, you can get inspiration for other things.
that's the whole. That's the whole mantra. Great artists steal.
Mike Robeson says Technorama. No one would ever buy that album.
that band sucks.
You have a GoFundMe just to keep them in business.
That's right.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We do appreciate you hanging out with us. Let's play that ending music and tell you how you can get in touch with us. You can call the listener line, Craig.
Oh, yeah. Hold on a second.
707-530-2428 is how you can get in touch with us. Or if you like, send us an email, technorama@chuckchat.com. We've got Facebook page. We've got YouTube channel. We've got all the usual stuff. You can find all those links over at chuckchat.com/Technorama. We hope to see you here for episode 668 when we record next time. And we will be recording our Patreon show right after this. And that comes out Monday mornings. Well, except for Steve, it'll be Monday afternoon, I guess. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for all the help, Craig. And it's good to be back. Hopefully I'll have a little more voice next time we record. Until then, give him a binary high five.
All right. 101, everybody. Thank you.
That takes care of the audio recording. SPOK, Star Pilots from Planet K. Technorama for Dummies.
Spoke.
So is the band Technorama and the album is for dummies?
Or
you're not allowed to put for dummies on anything. That is a Wiley brand, by the way.
With
don't ask me how I got podcasting.
Technorama with dummies. With dummies.
Technorama is dummies.
That's right.
Correct.
I still think we should have a con called Technorama Rama.
I thought that was the name of the pool party.
And, well, we can convert it into a con.
Spock is a thing. Check Spotify.
Oh, I think I have seen that before.
So we were on the plane last night coming back from Orlando to Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy sat right in front of me, and I'm looking at his hair going, dang, if that doesn't look like Garrett Wong. But I can't tell from the back. So I pulled up some pictures I had of the cruise this past week. And I'm going, I can't tell. This
you're pulling it, setting it up, holding it up to
after all the people had been seated, I leaned way over in my seat and I looked under, kind of from the side. And I'm like, I took a look at his shoes and I went, those are the same shoes Garrett wears. I think this might be Garrett. So CJ, I'm on the aisle seat on the left. Mm-hmm. And CJ's on the window seat 1.5 rows in front of us. Like, because Southwest, some of the planes are half offset. And she's on the window seat on the right. And I went, CJ. And then I pulled my mask down and I mouthed to her, Garrett Wong. It wasn't until the end of the flight when I said, I could sense by the way you were squirming in your seat, you have a tight connection. And then when he spoke, it clearly wasn't Garrett Wong.
Oh.
And I said, where are you headed? He said, San Jose. What time's your flight? No, we landed about 8:30. His was at 9:12. I said, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, you should have, if you're sitting in front of you, you should have put your phone in selfie mode and held
it in front of him.
Yeah.
Once I got a look at his eyes, he had a bit darker complexion than Garrett. He was also tall. This guy was like 6 feet. Garrett's not 6 feet. Wow. And he was bigger because when he sat down in the chair, I mean, I'm 6 feet and my head comes just above the headrest. He was clearly another inch taller in the seat than I was. And I'm like, what? Well, no, this guy's bigger than Garrett. Can't be. And then once I saw his eyes, like, no, not Garrett.
Well, I'm not the tallest guy in the world, but we were in Atlanta and I think a basketball team, I'm not sure if it's college or something, the basketball team in town. And in the hotel, it was like every once in a while, people would walk by me and their heads way up here.
Talking to their belly button.
Yeah. Hey.
What was funny was that was one of Garrett's shticks in his comedy act this year is his friend Billy. He said people were confusing me with Billy all the time. One lady actually came right up to Billy. We had our masks on at the time. Came up to Billy and said, Garrett, I love Voyager. And then he starts going along with it. He doesn't say, I'm not Garrett. He doesn't say, this guy next to me is Garrett. He starts acting like Garrett. So, one of the things Garrett was doing, people had whiteboards on their, next to their rooms or on their doors. So Garrett's going around and signing them. So Billy catches on to this and he starts signing it as Garrett. So he says, if you got a signature from me, it may not be from me. Maybe a forgery. Like Billy's getting to this whole poser Garrett thing.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Like, so I was about to lean forward and go, Billy, is that you?
Yeah, it may have been.
It could have been Billy.
Yeah.
I would laugh so hard. I was like, shut up, Chuck. Let this guy get his poor flight because he's
Leave
as
him alone.
beleaguered as the rest of us. You can tell because while we were on the tarmac, he's like, his head's nodding off, going, "Oh, that could be Garrett because he worked hard this week."
Right. That's funny.
Oh yeah, it was funny right up to the last moments of this trip. It had fun in it. All right, we're gonna stop the video, and
All right.
then Craig and I are going to record our Patreon show. Thank you everybody for joining us tonight. It's been a lot of fun, and we will talk to you again next time. Craig, are you hitting the end button or am I?
I can do it.
Okay, why don't you do it?
All
Thanks
right.
everybody. Take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Later.